we will continue with the kickoff of the presentation. So a short agenda. We will begin with a very quick introduction round, just to know who we have, let's say, around the virtual table today. Just keep it limited to name, function, and company, and specifically also a question for you, what triggered your interest in this project? Then we will continue with an explanation on the project concept, so the contextual part, after which we will tell you a little bit about, let's say, the practicalities of working in a TKI consortia. For many of you, this will be known, but for some of you not. So it's always good to have the practicalities available as well. And then, of course, we have some time for questions and comments as well. I think without further ado, let's kick off, and I will just follow the list of people on my screen for the, let's say, brief introduction. So let's start with Anna from Eiwitboeren.
Thanks. Well, my name is Anna van der Weijl, and I'm one of the board members from the producers organization Eiwitboeren van Nederland. And well, what triggered us? Well, that's simply a farmer's perspective can't miss out on this project. So that's the trigger for us to participate.
Excellent. Your sound was a bit off, but I think everybody got that got that intro. Thank you very much. Then let's see, Brett Oostlander.
Hi, yeah, I'm Brad Ostrander. I'm with Ingredion. I'm a breeder for specialty ingredients for the company Ingredion. I work with corn and cassava for starch production, but we also have interest in peas and high protein type applications. So that's what triggered my interest this morning. Thank you.
Okay, excellent. Thanks a lot, Brad. Then Erik Koenen.
Okay, my name is Erik Koenen. I'm working for CUTIE. Unfortunately, our company closed the mill I was working for by the beginning of last year, or end of last year. And now I'm doing a project for our sister mill in Aalveld for 9 months. So when the project will start, I'm not sure whether I still will work with CUTIE. What are we doing? We are making pulp and paper, and we're looking into circularity for water. That's our target.
Okay, excellent. Interesting angle as well. And thanks very much, Erik. Then moving on, Dario.
Hi, I am Dario from Unigra, which is a company in Italy. I'm innovation project manager, and we are interested in this project mostly because we produce plant-based milk. So yeah, could be a nice way of testing new cultivars. Plus, we also do some cultivation ourselves. So we have some fields and some farm.
Yeah, I think we might have lost you there, Dario, but I think the majority of your introduction was already said. So moving on, Jeffrey.
Good morning, everyone. I'm corn breeder at Ingredion. I'm Brad's colleague, who presented Ingredion earlier. So same interest as Brad, with a more focus on corn and maize.
Perfect. Thanks very much, Jeffrey. Varun.
Hello, everyone. My name is Varun. I'm here as well with my colleague Agnieszka. We are from Tratomic. We are a non-GM trade development company that works in every crop and even microbes as well. So we are here mainly to see what kind of crops are of interest, what kind of traits are of interest, and see how we can help with our technology.
Perfect. Thanks a lot. And also very interesting. Then Lieselot.
Yes, hi, I am Lieselot from Arvesta. I am responsible, I am working on a new project we are investing in, and it's the production of pea protein concentrates. And we're interested in this company because we also have field trials and a seed department. So we're really from the beginning of the product until the pea concentrates, and that's why I'm here today.
Perfect. A lot of different parts of the supply chain present, which is really nice. And then finally, Lucia, I see you also joined. Can you briefly introduce yourself as well?
Yes, I'm Lucia Gramigna. I'm working in the same company of Dario, Unigra, in Italy. So I'm in the R&D department for the oils and fats categories. And as Dario said, we will be interested in several part of the project.
Perfect. All right. Well, then I also have some colleagues here present from Food and Bio-Based Research, obviously, who are going to handle the project. Floor, let's start with you.
Hello, my name is Floor Boon. I work at Wageningen Food Bio-Based Research. My field of expertise is a biorefinery, so towards protein isolate. So I have a background in food process engineering.
Hey, perfect. Thanks a lot. Then, well, before moving to Marike, quickly a little bit about myself. My name is Dennis Schoonman. I'm a business development manager at Wageningen Food and Bio-Based Research. Background in food technology, but definitely not an expert in all the fields of expertise that we have available. So my primary role is really to set up meetings like this, interact with companies, and in the end also take care of the contracting part of the corporations. Moving on then to Marike, who will also take us further through the first part of the presentation. So I will move to the next slide, Marike, and then you can take it away.
Yes. So my name is, do I do this one as well? No, that's
Oh, well,
yours.
I can do this one as well. So,
I
but
will
first your
introduce
intro.
myself and you do this one. So I'm Marike Bruins. Indeed, I will guide you through the content of the project. I'm a project leader working in protein extraction, and I have a background as a process technologist. But this is about money still, so Dennis does this one.
Money and IP and contracting.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay, this is so basically this is a short slide to briefly highlight that the project that we're going to talk about today is a public-private partnership. So the one in the middle. We do also work on science grants and also on bilateral projects, but today it's all about public-private partnerships. So these are projects which are typically 50% financed by the Dutch government, and for which partners can contribute in cash and in kind. We will get to the details of that a bit later in the presentation. There is license rights on IP, and partners are also really invited, or they have to join a steering committee, because these types of projects are really a firm cooperation between knowledge institutes and private partners. So we definitely do not run the project all by ourselves. Well, having said that, then now we're moving over to the content. So, Marike,
Yes. Are you?
please take it away.
Yes. So CUTIE actually stands for Cultivar Selection for Local Protein Ingredients. I don't know how they came up with this thing, but we'll just run with it. I would like to tell you something about this project idea. Can I have the next slide? So the problem is, it's not a problem, but the problem that we identified is that we have many companies in the Netherlands, but also more broadly in Europe, who are growing new protein crops, locally specialized protein crops like pea or faba bean or amaranth. It can be any protein crop. And they still have to get themselves introduced into the market. It's a new crop. And they don't know yet how to compete on cost, and they don't know the exact functional performance of the protein that they're going to make, and it's therefore difficult to compete with the imported options that are already there and know exactly what they want. If you want to improve this, you can select better cultivars, for instance, and at least look at the cultivars that you have to see how they will perform and which ones are best to introduce in Europe. So it has to be a selection that is based on yield, disease resistance, but also, that's from a cultivar perspective, also on how much protein is in there and how well does it extract and what type of functionality do I have in the end, and does it meet what the consumers want. So what we want is to bring this entire supply chain together in one project. So it can be from breeders up until companies that sell to consumers, and to select cultivars that are suited for performance in plant-based food. And I wrote between haakjes, brackets, is that the right one? Okay, the word pulse, because I think most people are interested in pulses, and that's something we will ask you also at the end of the meeting. Next slide, please. So again, the aim to bring together a complete supply chain to get better cultivars for performance in plant-based foods. So what are we doing? We look at cultivation, processing, and functionality of these crops, and then together over the whole chain, select the most promising cultivars. For that, we are going to screen, for instance, processing and functionality in a high throughput in best case, but it could also be a medium throughput fashion in some cases. Dry separation, for instance, is more difficult to screen for than a wet separation. But to set up fast screening tools to go through your varieties, because these can be numerous, and if we want to screen 1,000 varieties, yeah, we might want to do that fast. And then integrate all the information that we have through data science to really get to a point where we can choose and select a cultivar. And the goal is, of course, to increase the availability of protein ingredients and to speed up the selection. In the end, it can also lead to new products and new breeding targets. But that's beyond the scope. No, not beyond, but it's at the edge of the scope of this project, I would say. Next slide. So here you see the approach in the picture. So cultivation is an important topic, processing is an important topic, and functionality of the protein product that we make is an important topic. And it's all glued together by data science to enable making choices. So I will go through these 4 blocks. We will call them now work packages in 4 slides. And then we have had about the content of this the project idea. So the cultivation, there we aim to gather information on the cultivation of locally grown crops. And at the end, get to a selection of the cultivars. And of course, this is not our field of expertise. This is very often the field of expertise of the industrial partners of the project. So this work package is very much in close collaboration with the industrial partners. This is a shared effort. And what are we going to do? First, we're going to define which input parameters are good to know, nice to know, we want to know them. And of course, we already have a list there, but you can also think of other ones. But crop yield is definitely important. Disease resistance, water use, protein content, and the composition. We gather all the input parameters. I assume most are known by the breeders or the growers. And otherwise we might have to measure some and add them to a database, which we later on use to select. So the results are data, cultivation data, and a selection in the end. I also, on every slide you see including targets. It's also very important to define what your target is. How much protein do you want, and when do you think that it's enough, and you have a good enough product at the end. Okay, so work package 2. That's on processing. And there we really want to develop high throughput screening tools to study the process performance. Of course, also here we have to define the parameters that are important to measure. So protein content, protein yield, water use, energy use can be one of them. And then we'll do protein extractions. For here, we didn't put specifically wet or dry processing because I think it can be both, and it can be dependent on the varieties that we have and the products that we want to achieve. As I already said, a wet high throughput screening is relatively easy. We've done things like that before. Dry processing, we already also have some ideas where you measure the size of the components after milling to get through. I would then call it a medium throughput screen. Of course, we can or already have the composition of the raw materials and measure the composition of the fractions. That will help us also in selection. And we will vary some of the process parameters, not stick to just one, because sometimes you can imagine that if you have larger granules, starch granules in your product, you mill it differently than if you don't. So the results from this work package are methods for screening the process performance and getting input for the choices at the end. Then we go to work package 3, which is on protein functionality. And there again, we want to measure protein functionality, but also in a screening type of fashion, because very often if you measure protein functionality, people ask for half a kilo of product. I don't think that's feasible if you have a project that is going for a screening approach. So also here we are going to downscale the functionality testing, define parameters of what we want to measure. Also in the questionnaire, we're going to ask you already upfront what these parameters, what would you like? So for us, the technical functionality is, that's key. So you do need, depending on the application, of course, a soluble or non-soluble protein, which can give you viscosity or a gel. So that's something we will measure for sure. The second one, is very likely that you want that. So also look at the flavor of the products, and then we would like you to distinguish between, is it an aroma? So can we smell it? Because that's easy to measure and to screen for. Or is it really taste that you want? Or are there also other functionality parameters that you want measured? So from this work package, we get methods for screening the functionality, and at the end, the functionality data that will be put into the database. And then we get to work package 4, which combines all the information in a database and which enables the selection of the right cultivars. So the main activities there are rather straightforward: to build up a database and to apply machine learning using the targets that are defined in the other work packages. So you will end up with a database on all the cultivars and a method for selection of the right one. And that's the main project description, I think. Let's see what's next. What's the next slide? Yeah, and then we get to the project structure, the timeline, and budget. Yeah.
So perhaps a good point to ask already to the participants if there are any specific questions on the content at this moment. If not, then I will continue with, let's say, the practical part of the presentation. I don't see anything in the chat. I don't hear anybody, so I'll just continue. So this is a little bit of explanation on what a public-private partnership actually is in the form of TKI. So we focus in these types of projects on pre-competitive technology and know-how in a cross-value chain collaboration, because that basically always works best. And in order to implement these changes and innovations, you often need several parties from a supply chain cooperating together. And we really try always to translate fundamental insights, new insights that we have into application understanding and practical implementation in the market. So we're open to Dutch and international partners. There are some ground rules for TKI, and the most important rules are that we need minimum 2 partners to participate, because otherwise it would just be a subsidized bilateral project. And at least one of the partners needs to have a Dutch legal entity, so it doesn't necessarily even have to be really a Dutch company, as long as we have a legal entity here in the Netherlands. And basically we're looking for suppliers of protein ingredients, manufacturers of plant-based foods, of other foods, technology providers, but there are probably also other companies that could be of interest for us. So please think with us which other companies could be of interest also to join, so we can try and build a nice consortium together. So then very practical about the subsidy scheme. Like I already said, TKI typically provides 50% of the budget in financing in terms of research hours and facilities, and the other 50% has to be provided by the partners, of which 25% is in cash and the other 25% in kind. How we spread this over the partners is to be decided. Sometimes there are, for example, startup companies who want to join in, who obviously have less cash that they can contribute to a project, but they usually have some interesting type of new technology or system or ingredient that they are working on. So in-kind contribution for them is then easier. So this is a democratic process. Basically, all the partners together have to agree on how we divide this and come to the final budget. Well, as we've written down here as well, in-kind contribution has to be further defined and discussed, and that's really different per project. As also already briefly mentioned, each of the partners joining the consortium will have a seat in the steering committee, and the steering committee will be active throughout the project, and they will decide on dissemination, they will decide on any potential IP filing, they will decide on where the project in detail will move to. Because of course we now have a nice project plan, or at least when we are going to submit the project, we will have a full project plan, but it will run for 3 years in this case. And of course, based on the results from year 1, we will further tweak the exact project setup, well, on the go. Then a short note on foreground. In principle, we have the rule that ownership follows inventorship. So if you contribute as a partner to the formation of any protectable foreground, you're also entitled to a part of the revenues. For any protected IP that is formed within WUR, all the partners have a non-exclusive license already. And if you want to get exclusivity within your specific field of use, you always have the first right to discuss with WUR. It's not only for a license, by the way, but in most cases also a complete transfer of IP can then be discussed. As WUR, we are not looking to gather IP, we are looking to get the innovations to the market, and if that is the most practical route via a transfer of IP, then that's also certainly a possibility. So duration of this particular project will be 3 years, and based on the info that Marika just explained on the work packages that we foresee, we estimated that a budget of 1.2 million in total will be required. So if you then calculate that back to 4 partners that we, on average, have within TKI projects, that will mean if you spread it evenly over the partners, a contribution of 25k per partner per year in cash and 25k in kind will be required to get this started up and going. The timelines then, we're basically in the middle of the process. We run every year, which starts somewhere end of April, beginning of May. So we are now actively looking for partners because we have at the moment around 30 project ideas that we've come up with, either by ourselves or together with partners. We will make a further selection in July because we're not going to write 36 proposals and submit 36 proposals, but because it's just a matter of capacity. So in July, we will make a further screening, which of the proposals that we are working on get sufficient partner support or which not. And then we will decide for which of the ideas we will write a full proposal that is to be submitted in September 1st. Then after the submission in November, we will receive feedback from TKI, which of the proposals will be granted. Typically, we have a success rate about 50 to 60%, so 1 out of 2, which is fairly high, of course, for a subsidy. And then if a project is granted, we have until April 1st to get the contracts in place and signed, and afterwards we can do the kickoff. So the start is foreseen in Q2 next year. So then to wrap it up, any questions from your side? Anything you missed in this presentation? That's an open question to you right now already. We have prepared some inventory forms that we will share with all the partners which are really interested to join. And in these inventory forms, we will ask you about top priorities. What do you really want to get out of the project? Any specific crops or applications that you're interested in? And we also like to ask you to think with us on possible in-kind contributions that you can provide for the project. And also, if there are any companies missing, which would be of interest for you to also join. Perhaps you have some partners in the supply chain that you can ask even to join. Can all be discussed. Like I mentioned before, it's a democratic process. We are always aiming to build a consortium in which all of the partners are happy with each other. Because after all, we have to work together for 3 years, and that is, well, a good, let's say, cooperation between all the partners is really essential there. So anybody with specific question?
Yeah, now is the time to ask your questions and give us your comments on the project. Yes, please, Brett. I don't hear Brett.
Oh, sorry. Hello. I was just wondering the germplasm that you'd be working with, if it would be, these are coming out of like accessions, collections of various pulses. I mean, yellow pea, fava, lentils, that type of can you give kind of, I guess, just a broad overview of the scope of accessions that you have available?
Yeah, we will ask you to deliver the accessions. So
okay,
that
would be part of the in-kind. Okay,
that's part of the in-kind.
okay.
Indeed. Yeah.
Yeah, and also, I mean, it will be dependent on which partners want to join. Which of the accessions will be in focus, because obviously there's a lot to choose from, and we have to scope because the budget is limited and the time is limited. So that is really indeed a part of the further selection that we have to make. So it's up to you.
And in your case, I don't know if Ingredient has their own lines, but you might have a breeding company attached to you, which always delivers your genetic material. So that would be a good match within the project.
Yeah. Okay. Right. There's some, there's quite a bit in the public domain. A lot of this stuff has not been evaluated or looked at. So, and yeah, in terms of production in Europe. And then I guess the other question would be, the testing then would be in the Netherlands. It'd be, you have 1 location, 2 locations, how broadly would you be able to kind of do the field evaluations for yield and
so that's why we say work package 1 is in close collaboration with the partners. We are hoping, we do have field trials ourselves, but we are hoping because many breeders are growing their crops anyway, that we can do it at their fields. We've done previous projects like this, and then we just collected material from fields of breeders. We didn't grow it then ourselves because you need a huge amount to do that.
Okay, yep, super.
No. Waarom?
Yes, hello. I had a question on something you said in the beginning where the breeding targets are on the edge or out of scope. Could you elaborate a little bit more on that? Because for us, mainly that part is the most interesting part, where we can use that technology to improve varieties for that matter.
Yeah, you can definitely use it to improve varieties, but I don't think that will happen within the project because really going to new varieties takes some time. You will go through a whole new cycle. So yes, there will definitely be breeding targets, but I don't think we will manage to do a complete new, to get to a complete new variety.
Makes complete sense. Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions for now? I don't think so.
Lieslot?
Yes, I have. Yes. It's just something I didn't understand very clearly because the work package of the database building, what is the scope of that work packages and what is it meant for? What is the goal of it?
The goal is to enable selection so that you weigh the data and that you, for instance, make say if the yield is not above that percentage, we don't even look at it, and then we choose, for instance, the best functionality in gelling. So it should be a database that enables selections for different purposes and for different targets.
Okay, to easily select the cultivars you are interested in based on the different parameters. Okay.
Yeah, to select back the cultivars indeed. Yeah. Maybe Floor wants to add to that.
Yes,
you built a database like that before.
Before, so it's also it's a place where you can gather all the information. And also somebody said there's also a lot of information out there. And so maybe we can also include doing some literature search because you have to fill such a database also to be able to use it to make a selection. So that's what we want to do here. We want to collect all the information, put it in a database where you can make that selection, but we also have to find ways to fill it in effectively, and that's why we want to set up these screening methods.
Is that clear?
Okay. Yes, thank you.
Yeah? Okay.
Anybody else triggered by this interesting question as well? No? Okay. Then I propose we leave it at this. If you have any further questions popping up, feel free to reach out to us. We're more than happy to help you out. Of course, if you're interested in further joining this, let's say, process to moving to a full proposal, let us know. Then we will provide you with an inventory form for you to fill out, and then we will start further scoping the project and hopefully make it onto a very nice consortium and a very nice project in the end. So for now, thanks a lot for all of your interest and for joining us. Brad, specifically for you, I think, because for you it's in the middle of the night, I guess, that you're joining. So thanks a lot. And well, looking forward to your further comments, and I really hope that we can build a very nice consortium all together. Thank you, and take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Thanks so much. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.